Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It's the second to last race of the season and race number 4 of the chase. Here tonight, live from the virtual Iowa Speedway with a new update, a new track model, and some new graphics. It's the SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series live on V-Speed. Welcome in, everybody. I am your host, Bradley Cooper. Alongside me all season long, we've had Alex Gagnon up in the booth. And Alex, last week, we still don't have any answers as to who's going to be this champion for the season. We've narrowed it down to 5 points coming into this week. But if you're Gabe Ellison, you have to bring it these next 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, you know, going out there, scoring the win last week, you think would have closed the gap, but a couple stage points there for the 43 has helped maintain that cushion just a little bit. It is really a two-horse race at this point. Mullins and Sturgill, you see them about 27, 29 points adrift there. The only people I would say even realistically still remotely in the hunt here with 2 weeks to go for this championship, but you know, the two drivers who have combined for 10 wins this season, still only separated by 5 points. They were separated by, I think it was, like 1 or 2 points in the regular season coming into the chase. It's just been, they've been glued to each other all year long. It's been so fun to watch these guys go to battle every week because you just never know who it's going to be week after week, and neither one can really get the edge.
And with the chase format, you know, contrary to the playoffs where you eliminate drivers and narrow it down to just 4, we've narrowed it down to just 2 here in these final 2 races, and we'll be going to Homestead in just a week to crown that champion. But here tonight at Iowa Speedway, well, it's going to be 150 laps, 45-mile-per-hour pit road speed limit, 2 green-white checkers, and the stage at lap 75. Of course, on the iRacing fixed set with 100% fuel. Drivers were talking about it in pre-race. You can get somewhere between 74 to 78 laps. And as long as you stay at that mark, good chance that you're going to make it a one-stop race. So we're going to probably see these guys one time down pit road unless we get a caution that would change that strategy. For the most part, I think drivers are going to limit there. Even though they have a lot of extra tire sets, I don't foresee us having a lot of cautions here tonight. They've been rather good to us for the Sim Racer Hub Challenge Series. So, Iowa Speedway opened September 15th, 2006, and I don't know what your opinion is on it, but personally for me, it's kind of like a bigger Richmond. It can be fun to drive, but with high horsepower cars, very difficult to pass, very difficult to remain under grip.
Yeah, it really is. This is one of those tracks where it's just such a momentum base place. You know, you get out of the rhythm coming off one of these corners, you're going to feel it the rest of the lap. But if you're able to kind of keep a steady in, steady out, you're going to find yourself making time in a hurry. And you don't really need to force it the way you do at some other shorter tracks here. There's a nice flow carrying around this just south of a mile track that I think you'll really see from the leaders up front tonight.
14 degrees of banking. You might see drivers using that high line in 3 and 4. A little difficult to do so in 1 and 2 because of the entry. There's a lot of bumps up there in the entry of turn 1. It will really upset these Generation 4 stock cars. So we'll have to wait and see. And with the new graphics and physics and all this overhaul that iRacing has been doing, we now have marbles and packed rubber on the upper lines of these racetracks. So that'll be interesting to see as well. Who's going to be brave enough to go up there in those marbles and try that line before it's worn in and that track starts to get a little hot. But with that, let's take you trackside and get that grid up on your screen. Starting on the pole here tonight with a 24 flat, it's Casey Carrington. Gabe Ellison right next to him. Who would have thought it here, Alex? It got, I mean, it's just, picturesque. We can't script it any better than that. Moving on to row number 2, it's going to be Michael Sturgill with Dylan Rosenberg. Sturgill having problems there with the update and was late to get into the session, so he's just kind of winging it here. Not sure on the setup, but good enough for third. He'll start right next to Dylan Rosenberg in the number 91. Row number 3 goes to Michael Mullins. Curtis White in the 63 will start in 6th. That guy really turning up the speed as of late. Thomas Stokes and Michael Garone will start in row number 4. And then that top 10 will go to Stan Carnathan and Jose Ruiz, electing not to take a time. 3 more cars on the grid here tonight. Craig Martin and Sheldon Atkins starting in 11th and 12th. And then Clinton Sneed, Lee Goner, and the number 49 will round out your field here today. Well, they're starting to pace around here, 2 pace laps, and tell you what, Alex, it's one of those racetracks that, like you said, it's very momentum based, but it's also very tire based, and so it's very easy to go up there and burn your stuff up on that high line in 3 and 4 because it is faster in the short run. But you have to discipline yourself not to do that. Just because you see the guy in front of you pulling away doesn't mean you should chase him.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you start seeing what other people are doing, you naturally be like, oh, if I'm losing pace, I got to adjust and try and make something happen different. The last thing you want to do is get the tires a little too hot here because there's not really a way to cool them down because it is a short track. You're constantly going around this place. There's not really an opportunity to kind of ease off just a hair. So you really need to take care of them in those opening 10 and 15 laps. So when you get 35, 40 laps into a run, there's still some tire left on that thing to make a run.
Well, absolutely, and we've seen it time and time again, especially in this style of racing with this style of car, how easy it is to overdrive your stuff chasing the people around you. And so the discipline to race the track, not the car, that's really what it's going to come down to as we try to crown a champion. Who's going to do it best here today? We know that we talked about the one-stop race. Well, we could still see some strategy with pit road. Overall times could fall off well over 2 seconds. We'll have to wait and see with the weather here as the track conditions are over 110 degrees on the racing surface. But for chase race number 4, race number 19 of the season, Casey Carrington will lead them into turn 1. Green flag is out. We're live and racing at Iowa. Trouble with the 3 of Sturgills around, takes his teammate to the wall, and we've got the leader around as well. Casey Carrington in the 7. It looks like the 27 of Gabe Ellison was destroyed in the outside wall. Michael Sturgill took him there. This could be it for Gabe Ellison.
You were saying at the start of the show that the 3 of Michael Sturgill, late to the session with the big update today, over like 30 gigs for most folks. Did not have as much time on the setup as he would have liked, and we may have seen that come into play right there. Tried making a move to the inside of the leaders in 3 and 4 and just lost it. I don't know if he got a piece of the apron or just watched up or what, but we'll take a look here at the replay. See Sturgill already trying to run that apron as Ellison was directly in the tire tracks of Carrington.
You'll see him go down to the bottom. Looks like the car just hooks on him here. And man, what a hard impact there with the 27, the 43 around. It looks like 3 out of the 4 Whole Shot Motorsports drivers were involved in that. Let's go back one more time here. Flip camera to take a look at this. Sturgill maybe locks up the brakes here.
Yeah, and that's going to be significant damage, mostly for Sturgill and Ellison, but especially Ellison getting pancaked between Sturgill's car and that outside wall. Carrington looks like he'll be able to escape with minimal damage, if any. Maybe just has to put some new tires on it. But here's the onboard with Ellison. Boy, there's just nowhere to go. It happens so fast.
And then clip there as you look off the back end of the 43 car. This is coming out of turn 2, but you're going to see Sturgill locks it up, slides in, just overcorrects it, and there goes the 43. And I mean, this really shakes things up here for the championship.
Yeah, it really does. It's worth noting that Gabe Ellison was able to get that car back on track without losing a lap, but it is definitely not 100% at the moment. It was just enough, I think, to stay on the lead lap. Would not be surprised if they try and... Oh, I think he was going to try and bring it back down again and overshot pit road.
I think that damage is not helping it.
It was going to be an uphill battle for Gabe Ellison tonight.
So we get our caution there right at the start of this race, and you know, Gabe Ellison's got plenty of time to get this repaired, but it's never going to be what it was at the start of this thing. He's just going to have to try to claw his way back into the top 5. It's going to be, like you said, an uphill battle. He also has his teammate back here, Michael Sturgill. The 43 of Casey Carrington got minimal damage from that, so most likely you'll see the 43 back up front very soon. But for, you know, guys like Gabe Ellison, Michael Sturgill, this is kind of like one of those, oh no, the whole season means nothing. It's getting away from us now.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, it's lap 5. You don't want to get too discouraged here, but obviously you're going to have to see what kind of pace is in the car here if this when this goes green again. And for his sake, I think he's going to be hoping that another yellow flies sooner rather than later. More time to go back down pit road and work on that thing. It's enough to stay on the lead lap for now, but that is definitely not going to be handling well.
So we get set to go back green. Pace car is going to pull off this time by. We're going to have a single file restart for this one. We got a caution within the lap of the restart. So there it is. Green flag is out. Let's try it again here at Iowa. And Michael Mullins was the command car that time. Started back in the 5th position, has already worked his way up here. Well, I mean, it's kind of easy when the top 3 take each other out, but this could be one of those races where Mullins, because he doesn't have any damage from that incident, could run away with it.
Yeah, this all of a sudden becomes a golden opportunity, not just for Mullins, but for a lot of those guys, even in the top 5 right now. Might try and put some distance on them. Guys like Garone, Stokes, Carnathan, Ruiz. This has blown the field wide open today with that early incident. Mullins in the best position here to try and capitalize. He'll lead going into lap 8 here, but Garone already taking a look to the inside. Almost got to the corner. Yeah, he did. He did get to the corner.
That was definitely a touch into 1. We were just about to go look at the 3 wide back there for the 7th spot, but then he shot it into the inside. I thought for sure he was going to take the 24 with him.
And then that would have been another wreck from the lead twice in the opening 10 laps, but a good save there from Mullins to hold on to it. He'll hold on to the lead. Carrington's starting to make work through the field again. He didn't have a lot of damage. He was just flat spot on the tires a little bit, so he's in good shape, up to 8th, and trying to close in here on Rosenberg. You see the traffic up ahead. Clinton Sneed battling with Jose Ruiz just in front of him.
So you're watching the 63 back here, Curtis White. He's on the highest line into 1 and 2 of all these cars. And I don't know if you tried the Arcus series this week on iRacing's official, but the Highline was where it was for that car, and this is a very similar chassis. The horsepower, of course, is a lot higher, but I think some of this will translate over. If you're the 63 car, I like the line he's running in 1 and 2. If you can perfect that, avoid the bumps, sideways for the 49.
Yeah. Avoid the bumps and avoid the cars potentially spinning out in front of you. Clinton Sneed, a close call there, is going to lose a lot of track position, but he's lucky to keep that thing in one piece.
It's coming out of turn 2, completely sideways in front of Rosenberg. Able to gather it back up, but that was a close call yet again.
Tell you who's staying with the pack here, but the car looks like it's having an absolutely awful time is the 27 to Gabe Ellison. He is still in that lead group behind Ruiz here, but you can see just how hard he has to work that thing to try and stay with him.
That's a lack of quit. I don't think he has that part in his body. And so he'll continue on for as long as this thing will hold on and give him a chance. As long as it's got 4 wheels and an engine, he's going to try to bring it home. 3 wide up here with Stan Carnathan, though. On the outside, the 43 of Casey Carrington has worked his way up to 5th. He went through the middle there. Curtis White to the inside. He's trying to go to the top 5.
That he is. Inside line here for White. They're both on the bumper of Rosenberg, who's trying to figure out what lane he's trying to defend. Looks like he will try and defend the low side here in the 1 and 2, and almost a bit of contact. Actually, a little bit there between White and Carrington. Meeting up in the middle of 1 and 2, pushed White out of line.
And White had to chase it all the way to the apron. He got sideways there on the entry to turn 2. Was able to gather it back up, but seems like the 63 a little bit faster on the high line. He gets pinched down there on the bottom. Not as quick and a little more difficult to hold on to. You'll see here he's up on the bumper of Rosenberg. It looks like potentially could get into the top 5. He just needs to find the right opportunity to do so.
Yeah, he's running that high side once again. One of the only cars really daring to go up high here in the early laps. He gets a great run off the corner. He's going to look to the inside here of Rosenberg in 1 and 2. He gets so much momentum coming off of 4. You see him, though, he's really having to fight to hold on to the car, though, coming off that high side. Just down onto the throttle, and just not as much traction up there.
Side by side continues. This is for the 5th position. 63 down low on Dylan Rosenberg in the 91. We'll go side by side again into 1 and 2. Just can't get clear. That was the other factor we talked about is the 63 gets sideways, touches the apron again. Still trying to gather it up down the backstretch.
Yeah, that car does not seem to be nearly as happy down on the low side as it is up high, unlike most other cars in the field right now. But they're going to stay door to door here. These guys are just locked together right now in this battle for the 5th position.
So every time I try to make a point, something dramatic happens, and I'm going to try to make it on the backstretch as they have contact again out of turn 2. Passing here, so difficult. You see how much time the 63 lost that time just trying to get around the 91. The 81's probably going to be in the same boat here. If they run side by side for a couple laps, you'll see the gap for the 63. He'll pull away, but look how much ground he lost in the top 4. Thomas Stokes at the tail end of this is about 0.4 of a second ahead.
Yeah, he is already checking out here. Seeing a couple of big gaps forming in the field. The leader separating from Carrington, and then you jump a little further back, and there's another big gap between Stokes, Beck, and White. So we're starting to see our own little packs forming. Tell you what, though, the driver who's been able to capitalize off the opening chaos the most has easily been the 66 of Michael Garone. He has opened up a healthy advantage here over Casey Carrington. And now the question for the 66 is, how well is he going to be able to manage his stuff going through this next stretch of the race?
Right now, last time by, almost identical lap times. It was about 4/100ths of a second difference between Michael Garone and Casey Carrington. And that's so minute that it would take an eternity with this gap of 1.5 for the 43 to catch up. However, the 43 is now in clean air and has had to pass a lot of cars to get to this position. So we have to wait and see what the 43 can actually do once he starts behind the 66. We're still looking at lap 75 for that stage. And this is a situation where if you're Gabe Ellison, you're outside the top 10, you've got to get 2 spots. You got to get everything you can right now. 2 positions with Jose Ruiz in front of him here. And then it would be Stan Carnathan, who is about 2 seconds ahead.
Yeah, and that is, you see the 82 there running through 1 and 2. Last car in the top 10 has a pretty solid gap here over Ruiz, who's trying to battle with Gabe Ellison right now, trying to hold that battered 27 behind him.
Also,
it's been an up and down day already for some of these guys.
Also like to note the 3 of Sturgill off the pace. Looks like he picked up some more damage at some point here during this stint. And he has fallen back almost 13 seconds from the lead, about 6 seconds back from the end of this group.
A little onboard action here. Seeing what he's seeing out of the windshield. It's a lonely part of the track he's found himself on here, going across the start finish line now. Already about half a lap behind the leaders.
Yeah, it's definitely a lonely place, and when you're out there with a beat-up car, it's frustrating to just keep on going, but the Whole Shot Motorsports guys still being represented here with the 66 of Michael Garone. He has now led 15 of the 27 laps about to be completed, and he's maintaining that gap. He's actually stretched the run out another 0.2, 1 3/4 of a second ahead of Casey Carrington.
He's starting to stretch out that lead a little bit. He has been flying here over the past couple laps. Starting to find himself a healthy advantage there over Carrington and subsequently the rest of the field. And this whole field has kind of found themselves a little spread out here. The closest battle on track, that one there between Mullins and White in this battle for third.
Curtis White, one of those guys we talked about in the pre-race during the grid that has just stepped it up. Garone, the other one. It's been phenomenal to see both the 66 and the 63 and how they've stepped up here in the later part of the season. And, you know, some guys might say it's too little too late. You know, I don't have a chance at the championship. These guys, they want to come out here and win. They're going to practice. They're going to put their time in. The due diligence as a driver. You can learn a lot here, even though maybe you don't have a chance at that championship. You can carry what you learn into next season. There's always next year.
That is true, and you know, while the championship may be out of reach for most of the drivers in the field, doesn't mean the win is out of reach, and an opportunity to hold that over the rest of the league to be like, I was the guy who got it done tonight at Iowa. Winning always feels good, whether you are in the championship hunt or not.
Sheldon Atkins and Thomas Stokes, and change for position. Stokes falls back to 6th spot at some point here during this stint. 22 of Craig Martin, currently in the 7th spot. Then you have Clinton Sneed, Dylan Rosenberg, and Stan Carnathan for that top 10. Gabe Ellison has lost another 3 or 4 tenths. Back here in 12th, all by himself. Looks like that car is starting to fall off, and I would say the steering angles probably have something to do with it here.
Yeah, I mean, that car just looks absolutely battered. You see, it barely looks like that wheel is left of center in the corner. And you see that thing is now trending to the right down the straightaways. That steering column definitely knocked to the right of here. And that is definitely, amongst a number of things, going to lead to more challenging times trying to get that car to corner when it already wants to pull to the right. You can even see there, that right front looked to be a little knocked out toward the right-hand side. Part of the reason probably why that car was trying to pull. You see now the gap starting to come down a little bit to the lead. 1.2 seconds between Garone and Carrington as they make their way onto lap 34.
The last time by, Carrington was another 10th faster, so maybe a little tire save here for the 43 car. He's starting to pull away from Michael Mullins. Curtis White was on the back bumper of Mullins earlier. He's made a mistake, and he's lost about half a second back. Currently in the 4th position, falling back to Sheldon Atkins. So here's Stokes going back on offense. On board with the Mike and Ike number 11. Thought maybe we were going to have a pass going into turn 1, but the 81 defends the bottom line, and they are slip sliding off the exit.
On board here with Stokes as he tries to get back to the bumper of Atkins off of 4. Closed in about a car length that time by, not losing any ground down the front straightaway. Maybe going to take a look to the high side here off of turn 2. And then he'll cut it back down to the apron. A nice little run of corners there. Adkins got loose. Could this be the moment for Stokes? He's going to try and drive it in under the 81 here.
To the inside, he did have the nose in there for a brief second. I think the 11 wants to get to his outside. That's what he's trying to do, but it's difficult here on the entries of these corners. Get a big run on the high line when you're exiting. But driving in, you almost have to send it deeper into the corner than the guy next to you and trail brake a little heavier to try to keep that car pinched down. It's just a matter of getting to that right rear, and you can see some of these guys better at it than others, but this track really forces you to drive in deep, especially with this car.
And as this battle is unfolding, Michael Garone, I'm about to catch Michael Sturgill here. Up for the lead, gonna put him a lap down. So the driver who put the car P3 to start tonight's race, gonna be the first car off the lead lap. Actually, sorry, second. Gabe Ellison just came down pit road, I believe, trying to get some damage repaired and new tires on that machine. It has been certainly a tough night for the 27. He was trying to tough it out, but now we're going to try and bring it down to the road, get the thing fully patched up, but he will go several laps down.
And we look at the gap here. It's kind of went stagnant for a moment as they navigated that lap car of Michael Sturgill. Casey Carrington about half a second away. And we're approaching that stage mark, so you know what that means. Casey Carrington doing what he does best. Getting that lead just before the stage. It's notoriously happened for him. Even when he doesn't have the greatest race ever, he's typically one of the drivers that's in the top 3 before that stage ends.
You see he's now only half a second back of the lead. So the lap's going to take away here. It's been a good rally from the 43. Got turned in that initial bit of contact with Sturgill and Ellison. It's the only car, though, to keep it off the wall. Had to get new tires on it, work his way back from the tail end of the field. And now has found himself closing in on the lead here. Less than half a second as they go back into 3 and 4. That gap, say, about 4 car lengths.
Top Secret 43 has caught up to Michael Garone. 2/10 there out of the exit of 4. Seems like Garone with that higher line gets better straightaway speed, but look at the dive down here to the bottom. That's going to be a deciding factor of who can run that bottom a little bit better. Yes, that outside's fast, but if you can equalize or make up time on this bottom groove, as you're seeing the 43 do repeatedly, it doesn't much matter how fast you are down the straightaway because you're almost guaranteed eventually you're going to get there. Just keep chipping away.
Yeah, he continues to close in just a little bit more, and we're just getting word that Gabe Ellison has left the session. He is officially going to be marked as a DNF tonight, finishing in 13th. Not how he wanted his championship run to potentially end here. I mean, obviously with only 13 cars in the field, he'll still get a decent chunk of points, but that will make trying to overcome that gap to Carrington in the final race all the more difficult. So one car now out of the race, and it's one of the championship contenders.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating. You see he's left the Discord as well, and you know that he's probably just thrown in the towel for this championship it's going to be even more difficult. It was already a challenge enough because you saw where they qualified here today. Ellison and Carrington both on the front row. They've been doing it all season long. And if you blink once, that's all it takes. You mess up one time, have one bad race in this chase of 5. That's all it's going to take to make sure it's maybe seal the deal here for Carrington. Nothing's for sure. This is all unofficial. But based off of the numbers, this is going to lengthen out the points lead quite considerably. We still have stage points that Ellison was not able to get as well. I think by week's end here, Alex, we're going to be probably all but declaring Carrington here on the top.
Yeah, it certainly feels like it could be trending that direction. And it is worth noting that as you see Carrington now maybe getting to the inside of Garone almost in 3 and 4, that is how Carrington has built up this points lead here this deep into the season. Ellison has 2 more wins and a couple more top 10s, but only has 2 stage wins. Carrington has 7 stage wins on the season. And that has been the difference maker to give him that points advantage, and he's going for potentially stage win number 8 here, as he will stay door-to-door with Garone this time by.
Sitting somewhere around 25 to go at the stage, 26 I believe, and if you're looking at the 66 car right now, you're wondering, okay, how long does he fight this? You know he's teammates with Gabe Ellison. He's going to try to prevent that 43 from taking this lead, but he chased him down from over a second. The high line, it's strong, but I don't know that it's strong enough. The 43's just been a little bit better here on the bottom compared to that long roll through the corner that the 66 has happened to repeat over and over. And yes, it is probably getting a little irritating as you see Casey Carrington wasn't able to get by. He's going to try the high line into 3 and 4, maybe gets a run out of 4 this time.
They are going at it here across the line. Third of the way through this one. This lap has been picking up over the past few laps. Again, Carrington going to look to the bottom here. Can he get a run off the corner? Not that time around. Got real loose. Still loose. He almost lost it going into turn 3. He was lucky that thing settled down by the time he hit corner entry.
So now you got to go back to that disciplinary of racing the track and not the car. You almost lost it there on the backstretch. Is it worth trying to pass Garone, possibly losing this car and losing those stage points? You're not far off from where Gabe Ellison is. You could wreck yourself out, finish right ahead of him, and then we're right back to square one where we began this race tonight.
There you see the battle for third on back. Mullins, Stokes, and White all duking it out here, 3rd through 5th. Curtis White has gotten around Michael Mullins for 3rd. Stokes trying to do the same if he can help it. And 24 just trying to hold on to that top 5 run that he's got going at the moment. As you see, he's closing in toward the back bumper of White once again. Everybody all the way up to the wall here.
About 2/10 separate all these drivers. Curtis White finally cracks into the top 3. He's had top 3 pace. It's just a matter of getting around these guys. I think you're going to start to see Curtis White pull away from Michael Mullins. But it's been Thomas Stokes who's kind of starting to fade out. He was a fast car in the first portion of this run, but as we got to the later half of this fuel run, I think right now it's maybe the 11 has burned up his stuff a little bit. Back side by side again here.
Yeah, I'm about to say, took a look down the back straightaway. Going to the inside is where he's going to have to try and make it work unless Garone accidentally gives him the high side. You see Carrington has tried that low side time and time again, just has not got the run, and Garone wisely holding on to that top side, knowing that's the preferred lane, forcing the 43 to make the pass around him. And Carrington, for as much as he's thrown at him, has not been able to do it yet.
This time through 3 and 4, almost a slide job there out of the exit of the corner. Still not able to do it. Garone's going to lead another time by. And Michael Garone is approaching most laps led.
If the 43 can just really send it in here on 3 and 4, he might give himself a chance. Okay, we're door-to-door down the back straightaway. Gonna try and slide it in here. Gonna take the nose right off the 66, but he will take the lead. Garone now gonna fight back to the inside. Drove that thing in really deep.
And there's the 66 getting loose. That's that bottom groove in 1 and 2. Does not like it down there close to the apron. Change for the lead here on lap 58. Casey Carrington going to try to maximize points with the 27 of Gabe Ellison out of this session. Everything's a positive gain here. If you're the 43 team, you don't have a reason to push it. But if you can go up here and snag this lead, get this stage win, get the victory overall in this race, it's going to be rather difficult next week at Homestead for the 27 to even have a mathematical chance.
Yeah, he definitely would be facing some pretty long odds at that point. And Carrington now starting to pull away. I believe it's, what, 15 laps-ish here in the stage? And he is starting to make some ground from the 66. I mean, and the two of these guys are by and large the class of the field right now. 4 seconds clear of Curtis White back in third.
You can see here for the 4th position, Thomas Stokes was going back to the rear bumper. 24 Mullins makes a mistake in the entry at 3. Brushes that outside wall, still going to carry the momentum down the front stretch, holding up on the high line. Now a high line entry into 1. This is where it's really dangerous for the 24. Can't get back to the throttle. Looks like Stokes going to take over P4.
Yeah, he will take over that spot for now. And now he's got his sights set on Curtis White. Meanwhile, just behind them, Rosenberg and Martin. That's the battle for 7th. And then door-to-door, Clinton Sneed, Stan Carnathan, I believe. Or no, sorry, that was Carnathan and Ruiz potentially just behind him. Sorry, that's Sturgill and Sneed. My numbers are all over the place right now. Oh, almost lost it.
Yeah, there's been a couple moments here where these guys come out of turn 2, and I'm kind of baffled about how loose it is down there. Usually Iowa is a bottom racetrack. You can work your way up in 3 and 4. It'll be a little bit faster. But for the most part, through 1 and 2, you want to be on that bottom line. We're seeing guys moving up half a lane just to keep grip on these rear tires. And I'd have to say that you can't afford to run that bottom line. I've seen Casey Carrington get away with it a little bit, but if he's pinched on that exit, you saw how many times he got loose trying to get around Garone.
Yeah, that happened a couple times. Everyone has been fighting that car at least once or twice tonight. We've seen we've seen a caution, then a couple of almost cautions out there. The car is getting super loose between Carrington and Mullins there, and Sneed earlier as well. It's been a battle for these guys just to keep that car firmly planted on the racetrack. It looks like I'm looking at the timing table. I think Dylan Rosenberg just made a move on Sheldon Atkins and cleared him. He's just put a massive gap on him. Actually, it's already half a second more. But about 10 laps to go in the stage this time by. And we're doing a little onboard here. Stokes trying to get to the back bumper of Curtis White.
It's his 4P3. Stokes got around Mullins after that mistake. And Michael Mullins has faded out about half a second away from these two. This is a battle more for bragging rights, I would say, overall, than anything else. These two drivers well aware of the point situation, but that's not going to stop them from trying to get a podium here in stage number 1 of the first half of this race. Looks like both pretty identical lines here, and that can make it more difficult as well, Alex. If somebody in front of you, as you see the 11 get really loose out of 2, if somebody in front of you is taking away your line, you're getting dirty air, you're not getting the exit that you want, and yeah, you're probably going to get a run out of the exit of the corner. But where do you take it if you're going to the same piece of real estate in the very next corner?
Yeah, and that's the problem. You know, we saw Carrington have so many issues trying to get around Garone earlier. That when everyone's finding speed up high and it's so hard to pass going to the low side, everyone's just going to keep running that high lane, and unless the guy in front of you makes a mistake, you might just be trapped in line, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. These three all under a blanket right now, but unless one of them makes a mistake, I don't know if anyone will actually be able to make a move. It's just so hard to make a pass on the low side.
Riding on board with Clinton Sneed, getting closer to Craig Martin. Just over 5 laps to go. See that white flag come out here just shortly. Lead has stretched out to 1.5 seconds, and it's about almost 6.5 to Curtis White in third. That's putting on a clinic here. If you ask me, Casey Carrington's going to be one of those drivers that might be impossible to take the championship away from him.
Yeah, and that is definitely the case. We've seen their cars getting all types of loose off of 2. White and Stokes, Mullins, all of these guys going at it right now. No one seems to be able to find that magic thing, though. It's going to be able to get them down, under, and around the car in front of them. Oh, now Mullins is going to try something to the inside here. Oh, he's getting super loose, though. He had to get out of the throttle big time, and that's going to ultimately cost him.
Saw him come out of turn 2 and still able to stay at the door of Stokes, though. Pretty impressive how he drove off and was still able to hang with these guys. He's going to try it again here, not by choice. He's just, to the inside. Can't go anywhere else. He's going to get a little bit loose, step out a little bit. They door-to-door again into the entry of 3. 24 car trying to take a 2-for-1 special here in 3 and 4. Not quite clear on that exit. We'll have to really send it here. He's only got 2 laps left to do it. For the 3rd position, Curtis White, Michael Mullins. Casey Carrington, well, he's in another time zone. 43 car, 1.9 seconds ahead of Michael Garone. Still trying to complete it for 3rd.
You see now Mullins going to try and send to the inside. He's going to be able to take them both here. As we enter the final lap of the stage, Mullins is going to clear both Stokes and White. Maybe a big swing in the points here for the 24. Finding some speed down low when it matters most.
Might have hit that white flag button a little bit prematurely. I was estimating the distance here between these cars. Not quite as big of a gap as I thought. Usually 7 seconds. I guess I'm kind of used to Richmond, but there's the white flag. Top 10 will come up on your screen as they cross the start-finish line. And now we're in pit road window time. Probably going to see a flood of cars coming in. Top 10 ticker on the left-hand side. Stokes gets back around. And it looks like Michael Mullins has a mistake.
Oh, he had just done a masterful job getting those spots a lap prior and is not going to be able to reap the benefits of it.
There's your stage winner, Casey Carrington, maximizing the points, getting a lap led, now has 21, and also a stage victory in the books. It's going to add number 8 to the list.
And he has just been unreal when it comes to stage wins this year. That's stage win number 8, I believe, on the season for Casey Carrington. A big part of how he's developed this points lead in addition to the 4 wins. And you see now a couple of cars getting service done just after the stage. Going to be able to make it all the way to the checkered flag from here.
78 laps in. Thomas Stokes in. 91 of Dylan Rosenberg. Stan Carnathan behind him. Casey Carrington continues to stay out for another lap here. And he absolutely could run away with this thing. He's already had the advantage on pace. Now he's going to have the advantage on tires. So you see the rest of this field. Craig Martin now down pit road. Jose Ruiz and Clinton Sneed are the only 2 cars left to hit the pits. Actually, you got Sheldon Atkins also on that list. Here comes the 49 and the 6.
Yeah, a couple more going to try and make it down pit road here. Not super shocked that they were 2 of the last 4 cars to come down pit road. We tend to see that they are some of the cars who tend to try and stretch it on fuel a little bit more than some of their competitors. You see Carrington going to make it down as well. Should leave Sheldon Atkins as the last car on track who has not come down pit road, unless he does this time, which I think he does because I think he needs fuel.
Sheldon Atkins going to round out this set of green flag pit stops. That puts us right at the halfway mark of the race. 43 needs to go down and away. He has the lead for the time being. But here comes Michael Garone, who's pitted about 4 laps sooner than the 43. Looks like they're going to be door to door coming into 3 and 4. Garone has that tire heat. That'll be a little bit advantageous, Alex, but it's going to even out here momentarily.
Yeah, it's going to give him the advantage just for now. At least give him the track position. Now he's going to try and go back on the defensive again. Took Carrington the better part of about 20 laps to get by him the first time around. Can he do that again? Or will Garone get the best of him here on the fresh tires? Carrington on slightly newer tires. That will come into play over the course of this run, but that track position oh so critical here to Michael Garone.
Well, if you're Casey Carrington right now, you see the 66 gets loose, but you have really nothing to prove, and I don't think you need to push the issue. You just allow what we just saw, a mistake to be made, find your position, get your footing, and get clear. Now you can walk away. That 4 or 5 lap difference in tires, I think you're going to see it right here when they come out of turn 2.
Yeah, and this is where you start seeing that gap. It's not a huge difference between the laps, but it's enough to see the 46 starting to pull away.
Oh, perfect opportunity. We've been doing it all season long. It's a good chance to give our voices a break, pay some bills. Did you find that remote control, that volume knob on that smart device? Crank those TVs up. Make your neighbors angry. Let's Get Loud, presented by 29 Graphics. So that's Get Loud, presented by 29 Graphics, as the 43 of Casey Carrington comes by to lead another lap. He gets back around the 66. Now 31 laps led, has the opportunity to snag away that most laps led record. 46 here for Michael Garone. Tell you what, it could be a picture-perfect day. Casey Carrington could maximize every single stat that you could have out here. We're talking about, bonus points out the wazoo with the stage win, most laps led, a lap led, the race win. I don't know how else to say this, but it could be such a deficit with just being able to do that. I don't know that anybody would be able to overcome that next week at Homestead.
it would be rather unlikely. I would have to imagine if he's able to close this one out tonight. And that's just, the nature of the way these things go. Sometimes you catch a break, and that's exactly what the 43 got here. 2 of the 3 fastest cars in the field besides himself run into major issues on lap 1. He's the only one who doesn't get caught up in it. And now with 60 laps to go, he is looking like he is in prime position here to carry this one through a second lead over Michael Groen. Carrington also on fresher tires, everyone with enough fuel to make it to the end. It's just a matter about, if you're the 43, it's at this point in the race, you just put your head down, focus on your lap times, making sure you hit your corners right, and set and sail.
92 laps complete. You're watching a battle here between fourth position in the 24, Michael Mullins, the 5th position of Thomas Stokes. That settles back down here briefly, and just in time for us to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. More coverage will continue here from Iowa. You're watching the SimRacingHub.com Challenge Series live on V-Speed. More coverage continues right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back here live for the SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series, presented by Admin Box, Aspiration Homes, and Rapid Fired Pizza. The first Rapid Fired Pizza opened its doors in 2015 in Dayton, Ohio. The idea was simple: make delicious, fast, and affordable pizza. Now in over 25 cities across the country, customers love the fresh taste, the speed, and the ability to create their own perfect pizza with over 35 different toppings and sauces. You can go to www.rapidfiredpizza.com for a location near you. Well, just before that break, we were settling things down and talking about how this season might be over with, but you know what hasn't settled down? The 4th position battle. Thomas Stokes was able to get around Michael Mullins there during that commercial break. We'll take you back on a replay right quick. Take a look at this battle as it kept going there. Side by side, finally on the outside for Stokes. And Mullins puts it down there on the apron, gets a little loose off the exit. It's just enough there for the 11 to clear. Up to P4 for Stokes. So, Alex, it's settled down here with Casey Carrington almost checking out. What do you have to say about this whole season?
I'll tell you what. I mean, it's been a fun season, and I will be honest, it is just a bit of a bummer that we've had such a great title fight for the past, God, what, 18 weeks, 4.5 months or so. And, just one errant twitch costs potentially the battle to the final race here. But, that is the nature of racing. Just because you are in the championship hunt doesn't mean misfortune can't strike you at any given point in time. You see now Carrington looking to try and put Sheldon Atkins a lap down here in a moment or two. Tell you what, though, we're also getting maybe a bit of a battle there. Clinton Sneed, Craig Martin, Jose Ruiz, those 3 cars kind of all within the same vicinity on track here. Ruiz on the freshest tires of the 3 of them.
We talked about that mark right at the stage, and it probably helped that we had that caution there on lap 1 to extend this run a little bit. Nobody really electing to come down and top off. They were pretty much guaranteed to make this a one-stop go, which makes me curious because this is the most tire sets that we've had in a playoff or in a chase race. Everyone else has been somewhere around 3 or 4. This is 5 sets. And so I'm kind of curious as if anybody was considering coming down twice just because of how raw the pace would be. With 2 sets of tires on this thing and that additional one you started the race with. I think overall the lap times have fallen off over a second, and we're only 25 laps into this stint. Again, not great at math. We are well aware of that here in the V-Speed booth. But it just seems to me like time made up there. Maybe a shake-up, catch somebody off guard. It could have been a strategy that could have been played.
Yeah, absolutely, it could have been. And we're seeing that kind of come into play right now with how some of this pit cycle shuffled out. A couple of cars that really gained a couple of positions, a couple that lost some. Notably, Sheldon Atkins feels like he really went the wrong way here during that pit cycle. He was the last car to come down pit road, and there's a couple extra seconds here, there's a couple extra laps he spent on the older tires, maybe costing him here, so he was trying to just stay on the lead lap here. You also see just how bumpy running the apron is here, how much those cars were rattling around down there.
And it's been uncomfortable on both ends of this racetrack, but 1 and 2 especially. Watch him work from the wheel coming off of 4, but then see the entry into 1. If he hits this just wrong, there's a bump to his right, about 100 feet into turn 1. And then it's so easy to upset this car back to throttle. You see it break sideways as the 43 gets to his outside. Just a simple transition of pedal to pedal, on brake, off brake, on throttle, off throttle. Those are all transitions that upset this Generation 4 stock car, especially when the temperatures are over 100 degrees. 112, up 2 degrees from where we started on the track temp.
It's been a toasty day. You'd think with the air temp only being 74, the track temperatures would come down a little bit over the past 110 laps, but it's going the other direction here, making those tires even toastier as Atkins just a little bit loose there off of 4, and that will eventually put the 81 1 lap down. The only car 1 lap down, though, so should there be a caution, he would be the one to get the free pass.
They put up a fight.
Continued. Yeah, he did.
Maybe doesn't make sense always to fight with the leader, but there's such a gap here that I don't think he really hindered the 43 of Carrington at all, really. Just trying to stay on the lead lap when you're courteous and kind to guys that maybe were battling. Had Michael Garone been up here, I guarantee that Sheldon Atkins would have just let those guys go. But if you stand to gain something, you know that the 43 is fast, and the likelihood of you being the free pass car for this caution, if it ever comes out, that's the first part of the recipe. The second one is the 43 could go up here and lap another car. We still have Jose Ruiz, who's just now coming out of turn 2, and the likelihood of the 43 catching him before the end of this race, it's pretty high.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit up there. And you're seeing here on board with the 6 Ruiz, trying to close in on Craig Martin and Clinton Sneed. That whole group starting to accordion together just a little bit here. In the final third of this one, you see Martin get out of the groove just a hair. Going to let Ruiz pull in even a little bit closer. Now going to take a look to the inside maybe.
Had the nose in there briefly into 3 and 4. It's going to fall back, though. That's part of the side effect of running that bottom, especially if you're not well-versed. You haven't practiced it a lot. You get down there, touch that apron, or maybe just can't get to the throttle as soon as you want to. It can upset the car, it can upset your line. You saw how much ground the 6 car lost to the 22 there briefly, but now it looks like maybe he learned something down there. He's kind of trying that Carrington line to get back to the back of Craig Martin.
Back to the apron Ruiz goes. Has to try and get some momentum back here coming off that low side. Martin gets ever so closer to Clinton Sneed just up ahead. Question's going to become, can Ruiz make the pass on Martin before Martin clears Sneed?
Clinton Sneed, a stellar day. Started in 13th up to 7th. He's been in the top 10 pretty much the whole time. Other than that avoidance on the first incident, he really hasn't had any problems here today. Looking at a side-by-side there briefly, the 22 looked to the bottom. Craig Martin not able to do so to complete that pass. The 6 is in the same boat. Jose Ruiz will now peek to the inside. The battle continues between 7th through 9th.
Ruiz takes a peek to the inside there, off of 4, nothing going that time by. The gap, though, less than 0.2 of a second that time by. Sneed trying to maintain about a 0.2 of a second gap over Craig Martin as well. Ruiz got Martin back in his sights here, off of 2. Gonna look back to the high side here in 3 and 4. Martin gonna run that middle lane. Could potentially be leaving the door open for a run here from Ruiz, who gets right to his back bumper. Now his 6 gonna look down to the apron. It is so tough to make a pass down there once those tires start wearing out, as Jose Ruiz is finding out right now.
Yeah, and even though Jose Ruiz stayed out a little bit longer than the rest of this field, he's still gonna feel that difference in lines. He's getting a good run when he's able to sweep the corners and take a wide exit. But as soon as you're pinched down there, there's a car to your outside, whole different ball game. We've seen it with even your leader here tonight, Casey Carrington, trying to pass Michael Garone earlier. That bottom groove was not kind to that car. 22 steps out of line there briefly. Not sure if he got loose or if he was just trying to guard that inside dive bomb possibly from Jose Ruiz.
Yeah, that is a tough one to gauge from here. As you see Ruiz now back to the inside. Gonna be alongside him potentially here. Didn't get the momentum he needed though off of 2. He gets to the inside of Martin through 1 and 2 after a great run through 3 and 4, but just can't close it off on the exit of 2, and that's why he is still trapped in the 9th position here. But an interesting little duel here between 7th, 8th, and 9th.
And really, that's the closest battle. It's the closest battle we have on the racetrack here right now, Alex. It kind of lengthened out the top 5. Thomas Stokes kind of surging back towards Curtis White. It's been a slow gain. You've watched the Mike and Ike 11 get around Mullins, but he's since went stagnant about half a second away from the 63. And then Michael Garone is in between these two cars. About 3-second gap between him and White. 6 seconds between him and Carrington, who's about to catch up to this battle we were watching just a second ago.
Yeah, he's watching all of this unfold in front of him. And if you're Casey Carrington, the last thing you want is to be trying to lap cars who are all fighting for position, because that is just going to be an infinitely harder pass. Not that he has to really force the issue, being 7 seconds clear of Garone. But you see Michael Sturgill there still trying to muscle that car around. It's 4 laps down and really struggling actually into the wall a little bit. You can see the damage has never really gone away there for the 3.
And almost into the back of the 43 car. This is coming out of turn 4. Still trying to muscle that thing around. Now 5 laps down for Sturgill. I know he's got to be frustrated, but be careful around those leaders as Carrington goes by. Michael Garone. Looks like we had some tire smoke down that backstretch.
Could have potentially been Curtis White because Thomas Stokes now is knocking on the door of the 63. That's the battle for the final step of the podium, and Stokes is into the wall.
Stokes had all that time made up. He had it under half a second, and now it goes back to over a second. Just like that, one little mistake, a brush with the wall. That's P3 sitting right in front of the 11. He can almost taste it. That mistake on that entry to 3 and 4 just puts him right back, hits the reset button, if you will.
On board here with the 11, running in the 4th position. It's been a good day for Thomas Stokes as a whole. Still clear of Michael Mullins by about a second. Although he has lost all that momentum he gained to Curtis White, he now finds himself about a second behind the 63. Here with just over 20 laps to go from Iowa, the penultimate race of this SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series. You see now Ruiz back to the inside of Snead as Martin has gotten around the 49, and now Ruiz looks to do the same. Look at how close this is, just as Carrington is closing in on him.
These two side by side in front of your leader. If one of them makes a mistake, we know how this could shape up. For the 43 car, he has to avoid if anything happens, and it almost does out of 2.
Yeah, the 43, the last thing you want now is to have something happen in front of you and you get caught up in it. As you see Ruiz and Snead still door to door. The 6 a little bit loose, going to lose out on that run and have to fall back in behind Snead for now. Craig Martin happily going to watch that battle unfold in his rear view. We jump on board with the 43 of Carrington, going to try and figure out a way past this, or even if he's going to bother, he might just sit behind it here with only 20 laps to go and an 8-second advantage.
And what contrast are you seeing here? The 22 happy to see the battle behind him. The 43 just wants him to sort it out so he can get around him. So there's just two different opinions of the battle for the 8th position right now.
Meanwhile, the two guys battling for 8th, trying to do everything they can to not start bludgeoning the other one here. Little short track racing almost taking effect between Ruiz and Snead. You see the 6 now about to fall into the clutches of Carrington. Trying to say this is the last car on the lead lap right now.
Just over 15 to go. Casey Carrington sees him side by side again. He has plenty of a lead here. No reason to get up there and race with these guys just yet. 8.5 seconds roughly. No reason to push the issue. I think he's just going to wait for these guys to single file out before he decides who he's going to follow or when he should pass. And the 6 down to the bottom again. Maybe clears Clinton Snead this time. He does not. Down the backstretch, the 43, Carrington, all over the back bumper of the 49. He said, enough's enough. I need to get around you.
And now going to look to the outside of Ruiz here, but not able to make that pass happen just yet as Snead running the high side. Does Carrington dare try to make it 3 wide? Doesn't look like that time. Ruiz actually lost a bit of momentum coming off that low side. Going to lose out temporarily to Carrington. Trying to stay on the lead lap here. Here comes Michael Sturgill into the picture. There's 3 wide.
And for Sturgill right now, I don't know if it's fresh tires or just a sudden burst of speed from saving something. But he gets one of his laps back. Now 6 down.
He was about 5, I think, last time. So it's possible he came down pit road for a fresh set here late in the race. Adding to the chaos here that is the battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th. Ruiz now 1 lap down. Snead just trying to stay on the lead lap. Sturgill just got his back, and Craig Martin, to his credit, has been able to clear a lot of this here over the past 10 laps. He doesn't have a huge advantage, but he has been able to watch a lot of this unfold from behind him, as opposed to being stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah, he really needs to run away from it. He doesn't want the 43 to catch him in a part of the turn where maybe it opens up the door for Snead and then he has to start all over again. He's past these cars. He wants to get away from them. And we're talking about 7th position here. Yeah, that doesn't sound like much, but if you're running for maybe a top 10 in the title here, you'd love nothing better than to get away from some of these guys you've been battling with in the points all season long.
And now Snead just got to the back bumper going into one on Craig Martin. Him battling to try and stay on the lead lap has helped bring him closer to the 22. Carrington, though, going to try and stick it back to the inside. He just wants to be done with this battle, I have no doubt. And looks like I was going to say he was going to clear him there, but got real loose off of Ford. Not settled yet. And this time, or next time by, it'll be 10 laps to go. Carrington very much in control of the race win here, but it's a little bit of a precarious situation with all the lap traffic around.
Yeah, I don't know what you need to do to clear these guys, but I think with the lead being as big as it is, you just don't want to get into one of them and cost yourself all that gap. That 8.5 seconds is solid. You can afford a few more laps of this. I wouldn't panic just yet, but, under 10 to go, I think, maybe at this point, the 22 could let the 43 go. Have to wait and see if that's his mentality. Here he goes, sliding up out of 3 and 4. This is where things can go wrong. So as a car that maybe doesn't have a shot at winning this race, but has a chance at keeping the free pass position, he did all he could do there. Now Clinton Snead is going to be the lucky dog. 43 gets by the 22 just briefly there.
And he's going to be able to clear, not quite clear off of the turn 4. Now he's going to force his way up there. Nose the tail, 7, 8, 9. All trying to get back to the lead to get their lap back. And all of these positions now still a battle for position out on track. Unbelievable stuff here. Clinton Snead now holds on to P7. Craig Martin trying to hold on to 8th. And as we jump up to the front, Mullins trying to hold on to 4th here as Stokes trying to battle back. Looks like the 24 has just recently gotten around the 11.
Yes. Stokes was actually working on Curtis White there, if you recall, just a few laps ago and made a mistake. Lost all that ground, and he is very sideways into 1. He sends it to the bottom, but that's not going to be enough. Has to lock it up. You got to try anything at this point. You see a lot of Hail Marys being thrown right now.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know if I would want to drive that thing Ken Block style into turn 1. It's sideways enough as it is. But you got to admire the ability of a lot of these drivers. How many times have we seen coming out of these corners tonight where guys look wrecking loose, and the average guy up here in the booth probably would have lost it 140 laps ago.
You could have chalked me up to being in a similar situation that Sturgill found himself on in the opening lap. Only difference is I wouldn't still be out on track. I would have just put that thing back behind the pit wall. These guys have been doing a phenomenal job trying to keep this car under them tonight. And even though there was the one caution, it's been green since.
5 laps to go. Casey Carrington's lead is now almost 9 seconds. He catches back up slowly here to Michael Sturgill. Michael Garone, Curtis White, Michael Mullins, and Thomas Stokes, the top 5. 2 cars have left since Gabe Ellison put it behind the wall. Sheldon Atkins and Stan Carnathan have now parked it and put it in the hauler.
And it looks like as this thing's going to go, it'll only be 6 cars that will finish tonight's race on the lead lap. Phenomenal drive from the 43 at Carrington. The rally back from that early caution.
And Rosenberg is about a straightaway ahead of this. I don't think he's at threat of going a lap down. Not enough time left. But just looking at how diverse and how much contrast, and probably comes down to lines, and we did have a big update here. I'm not sure what all they've changed, but there are some physical attributes on the racetrack showing marbles. And so you got to wonder, did the iRacing update kind of throw some of these guys back to the basics of just learning this, how this car is going to handle on the long run? We ain't got time for that. Let's talk about that white flag. It just came out.
It certainly has.
Casey Carrington, one more time around Iowa. This could be it. This could be the one. Seal the deal. Wrap up this season. Big victory, stage points, bonus points, and a victory. In race number 4 of the chase, Casey Carrington is going to win here at Iowa.
Win number 5 on the season for the 43 machine. Pair that with his 8th stage win of the year, and that might be what it takes to get it done to win the championship next week. He's going to give himself a healthy points advantage coming out of Iowa this week.
And that's what it's always been about here. But usually he would have a compliment to his run, whether it be a driver of Gabe Ellison finishing in front or just behind him. Tonight, that's not been the case. The 43 maximizes the points, and he will add his 5th win of the season in the books now. Post-race interviews with your top 3, those final results. You're watching the SimRacingHub.com Challenge Series. SimRacerHub.com, since 2009, has been the premier destination for iRacing League scoring. Our mission is to provide you with the most comprehensive and user-friendly tools to manage your league's schedules, results, points, and stats. Plus, our highly active Discord community is always ready to assist you with any questions or issues. Ready to take the plunge? Create a league today and join our community of passionate sim racers. Find out more at SimRacerHub.com. Don't go anywhere. Post-race coverage here on V-Speed in the SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back here live, Iowa Speedway, and problems here for the 63 in the closing laps. We were talking just briefly there about the final results. We're going to have those up on your screen, but here's the 63. Problems for him down on the apron, and I think we're about to see maybe just to rewind here a little bit longer. There's Stokes behind the 63 car. And I'm fairly certain just a mistake. There's a big lock up there for the 63. Stokes was able to get around him. Not sure what was going on there, if he was running out of fuel. But Curtis White goes all the way back to the 6th position at the tail end of this race. Quite the situation that we kind of missed there, and I apologize there for the coverage that we missed that moment, but unfortunate for Curtis White. Congratulations, though, to Thomas Stokes for being there when it counted most.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Opportunities are only opportunities if you're able to capitalize on them. Otherwise, they don't mean much, and those 3 were able to do so. Tough break for Curtis White, but 3 drivers who got around him in those last couple laps. A big break for them. It moves all of them into the top 5.
So now we'll get those final results up on your screen. Casey Carrington, after 6 lead changes and 1 caution, started on the pole, got turned into turn 3 and 4, had several championship contenders involved in that incident. But Casey Carrington was able to rally back to the front. Michael Garone will finish in 2nd position. Thomas Stokes, the top 3. We'll talk to them in just a moment. Dylan Rosenberg, 4th spot with Michael Mullins in 5th. Curtis White falls back to the 6th position with Jose Ruiz in 7th. Clinton Sneed will come home in 8th position. Solid day for him with about 5 positions gained. And then you have Craig Martin in 9th and Michael Sturgill. Michael Sturgill is going to get a top 10 here today at Iowa. 3 more cars to talk about, and all these cars off the racetrack. It looks like Sheldon Atkins and Stan Carnathan exiting under their own free will, but for Gabe Ellison, it was one of those, the car wasn't there, it was beat up, it had problems since lap 1, and ultimately just not fun to be out here tonight. Gabe Ellison puts it behind the wall, 113 laps down, what could have been here for the season finale at Homestead. We may never know on that, but we still have an opportunity. We still have some chances. We'll have to get those final points, and Sim Racer Hub will be providing those for us shortly. But, you know, as it sits right now, quick math, it's not looking good here. If you're a 27 fan, I'm sorry. I feel bad for the guys. You know, they went back and forth all season long.
Yeah, it was such a great battle all year long, and, you know, something that out of their control could potentially be the ender for it, but you know, it's the point that we've been kind of referencing all night long, Bradley, is the nature of racing. You know, sometimes you do everything right and just doesn't quite work out for you. And, you know, despite how good of a season Ellison has had, maybe it just was not meant to be, but he will have one more crack at it next week. We'll have to see if he can pull off a crazy comeback in the final race of the season, but the odds will certainly be against him.
With that, we get ready to talk to your top 3. First driver that we're going to pull up into the booth is Thomas Stokes. And, well, Thomas, you were there to capitalize on the situation, and I don't know what happened to the 63 of Curtis White. Can you shine some light on what happened there to get you up in this top 3 with just 2 laps to go?
Oh yeah, well, I was running my race. I kind of felt I was saving my right front a bit better by, letting off the gas about 50 feet before going into the braking zone. So that was in turn also helping me save fuel. He pit on that yellow and, he got about 2 laps extra fuel on everyone else, and he still was 1 lap shorter than me on that coming to the stage. Um, so I knew he was going to be really tight coming to fuel to the finish. And sadly, I mean, he's racing Garone for 5th place in points, and he couldn't hold it out. So he's going to lose a couple points there, but I was able to capitalize and get 3rd. I mean, this is my first podium of the season besides Talladega, and Talladega is, kind of a luck track. So, getting a podium here, I mean, 2 of the fastest guys kind of wrecked, but you take what you can get.
Well, you get up here into the top 3, and you were a top 5 car. I can promise you that all night long. You stuck with those guys. You were there to capitalize when they made mistakes, and you stuck with them on the pit strategy. Just a phenomenal drive here tonight, Thomas.
Thank you. I just bought this track right as the session opened, and then the updates took forever, and then my computer shut off. It was giving me fits. So I only had about 20 minutes of practice, qualified horribly. And then the C's opened up in turn 1, and then, I don't know, I just was able to find the rhythm and just run and take it.
Well, I wouldn't recommend that you do that at every track, but sometimes it just works out that way. Thomas, anybody you want to shout out for tonight's performance?
Yeah, I'd love to shout you guys out. Thanks for broadcasting all the season. And, coming down to the end here, we're lower participation. You guys stick through it with these long green flag runs, and I appreciate that. I'd like to thank the sponsors too, Sim Racer Hub, Rapid Fire Pizza. There's one more I'm forgetting. And I'd like to thank my teammates, RPM, Curtis, Michael, and Mullins, and Sheldon. Shame Sheldon had a bad race tonight. He's going to finish out the season not how he should be. But I'm glad I'm coming on strong at the end of this season, where I felt like I should have been most of the season, and hopefully I can try to get fifth place next week. But I don't know. I don't know if it's a big ask.
We'll find out in just 1 week's time. We appreciate it, though, Thomas, and we look forward to seeing you at Homestead.
Great, thank you guys.
Thomas Stokes, third place finisher here today. Alex Gagnon is now catching up with your second place finisher. That's Michael Garone in the number 66.
Hey, welcome to the booth there, Michael. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, a good runner-up finish for you here tonight. Led a bunch of laps in the process in the early going. Just was a little bit short tonight of the 43, but it seemed like in the early going you had the pace to beat, opened up a couple-second gap. Talk to us a little bit about your night and what it was like getting to try and defend the lead here early on.
Yeah, super unfortunate to see all three of the championship contenders get into it on the first lap. I don't know. I didn't really look at what happened there, but that was unfortunate to see. But it kind of played out in my favor on that restart there. Just I don't know. I don't know if I tried to run the bottom as much as I can, and then Casey drove through the field, and as soon as Casey caught me, it became all right. I got to run the top to protect, and I think that did a good number on the tires. Didn't help in terms of fuel. It's super tight on fuel if he ran to the top too much tonight. So, it's okay. I felt like I had the rest of the field covered, other than Casey. He was flying tonight, even with the little bit of damage he had. But felt good to run up front, lead some laps. It's been a while since I'd done that, so yeah, it felt good.
Yeah, it was cool to see you up at the front there, and after talk to us a little bit about just the pit cycle here at Iowa. You came back out in front super briefly. Did you think you were going to have any chance at the win when you cycled through back to the lead for a moment, or was that just pending doom waiting to happen?
Yeah. So I didn't even really anticipate even undercutting him like that. I was out of fuel coming onto pit road, so I sputtered all the way down pit road. My pit road speed was a disaster. Kind of really hard to keep it at that solid 40 mile an hour when you're sputtering all the way down, and then had to be conservative getting into the box, because if you slide through, you're gonna tow. So I didn't anticipate being anywhere close. But yeah, I did what I could. But then again, just tight on fuel on the second run. I feel like everybody who pit on that lap one caution just made the rest of the race a lot easier for them, because it gave them that kind of buffer zone. We've had a lot of races this year where it's been tight on fuel, and like I feel like whoever's on pit road later, it kind of just gets a little bit of an advantage, and it just makes everything easier as the race plays out. So I feel like that bit me a little bit. I don't think I would have ran with Casey anyway, straight up, but happy to finish second at least.
It was a good run for you tonight, nonetheless. Good bit of points between the stage, the laps led, and the finish. Michael, anyone you'd like to thank or shout out tonight?
Yeah. First of all, everybody at V Speed, you guys for giving us a stream to put on a show every week. I know a couple of people watch me every week. My girlfriend watches every week. Her dad, so I got a couple of people on the live stream, so shout out to them. Thank everybody at Sim Racer Hub, Clinton, everybody that makes this league possible. And yeah, I think that's it.
Alrighty. Well, Michael, thanks for dropping by the booth. Congrats on the P2 run tonight, and looking forward to seeing you close out the season next week.
Yeah, thank you.
That was runner-up finisher Michael Garone, who led 46 laps tonight in a P2 effort.
We're going to bring up Casey Carrington from that top spot. Casey Carrington, do you got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
Well, it looks like you've all but sealed it up here. I hate doing math. We've said that in the booth before, but just based off the stats here tonight with 93 laps led, you come out with the most laps led. Not only that, you got the stage win, you got the race win, and unfortunately for Gabe Ellison, an early exit here tonight. I think that's probably going to do it for you. Congratulations. We're going to call it a race win for now, but we'll see you next week at Homestead.
Yeah, let's yeah, I'll give no long speech tonight. We'll save that for Homestead next week. But yeah, what a lap one. I mean, looking at the replay, I think I survived an assassination attempt, and then I mean, I hate it for Gabe because yeah, I mean, this is gonna go down to the wire. I guess you guys pretty much saw. You tried to get a look at me tonight of how much I was struggling with the looseness, and I feel like if he and I had to go toe to toe, it would have been tough for me to hold him off, but never really got that opportunity. Super lucky for me. I only had 8 seconds of repairs after that, and yeah, I drove up to the field, and I mean, I've never in my life on iRacing driven a car that was so loose and so little grip. I mean, I was just slipping, sliding around. Brother, it was trying to run Garone down for the lead there, and I finally caught him. Then I knew he spun out behind him and had to run him, catch him down again, and finally get around him. And then when I caught those lapped cars there with about 10 to go, I was wanting to kind of race them just for the heck of it because I was kind of bored and instantly regretted it because then I started slipping and sliding around like they were and thought I was going to wreck into one of them. But that was I know it's one of those probably from the TV cameras and all and doing the broadcast and people watching the broadcast. It may have not been a very exciting looking race, but that was probably one of the most involved races I've ever done as far as driving.
Well, you had to claw your way back. You fell back to just inside the top 10 there. And, had we had a little bit higher car count, that could have been easily outside the top 20. You claw your way back through this field, and finally you get around Michael Garone. Once you got in that clean air, how did the car feel from that point on?
Oh, it was still garbage. You just had to, the good thing about clean air and not, really having any pressure, because I knew obviously I was going to gap him a little bit before the stage ended. I just kind of relaxed. I mean, once I came out, I was really shocked, and I talked to him a little bit in the waiting room about. I was shocked that when I came out of the pits, I was only about 2 car lengths behind him when I expected him to be about a straightaway ahead of me. So I was like, hey man, I've got like 2 or 3 lap fresher tires or whatever, and I ran him down the first time. I'm just gonna cruise and make sure I don't make any mistakes. And he kind of, I think, from what he was saying when I talked to him, he said he kind of gave up a little bit. He knew he wasn't gonna be able to hold me off for 70 laps or whatever, so he kind of let me go. And once I got around him there, yeah, I just kind of relaxed. And this is physically one of the toughest tracks for me when it comes to turning laps. I almost always leave this place with a sore left shoulder because I tend to tense up so much trying to fight the car. And yeah, I mean, 150 laps doesn't seem like that much at a little, what, like 3/4 mile track, but definitely felt like an endurance race, especially with effectively zero cautions. I mean, we had the one at the start, but I mean, we went like 100 and what, 47 laps green, so effectively a caution-free race.
Yeah, and it's a challenge here at Iowa nonetheless, and then you add 900 horsepower to it. It's even more difficult. Get side by side, and there's a number of factors, but you come out on top here tonight, maximize the points, and put yourself in a great situation. Casey Carrington, anybody you want to shout out while we got you in the booth?
Yeah, I want to shout out everybody, man, this season, whether it was the guys that showed up, the guys that are still showing up. Like you mentioned, kind of, car counts are down and all that, which it's the end of the year and it's the off season in real life for racing. So I get it, and I appreciate the guys that are still showing up. I know Quentin does as well. We still have some pretty good racing amongst the guys that are here, so that's a good thing. But shout out to those guys. Shout out to you guys for doing the broadcast. Like I said, hopefully there with Garone and I having that battle, and then some of the slide jobs going on there towards the end of the race. I hope you guys had a good time trying to call it. All season really. I mean, I know there's been caution-free races. There's been some caution fests and pretty much everything in between. So hope you guys have had fun watching that, and we put on a good show for you, and can do so again next week. Shout out to Aspiration Homes, Rapid Fired Pizza, Admin Box, Clinton especially for putting the league on and doing everything, and everything with Sim Racer Hub, man. League racing wouldn't be worth doing on iRacing without Sim Racer Hub and the stat tracking and the point standings and all that. So I really hope he understands what a key figure in the community he is. And then shout out to, like I said, everybody that watched the broadcast, and my teammates that weren't here tonight, and Craig Martin and Josh, or not Josh Dillon, he wasn't here, but Dylan Rosenberg for hanging out and commiserating with us as we were going through the slip and slides that were turns 1 and turn 3 tonight.
Appreciate your time, Casey Carrington. going to go into Homestead with an even bigger lead than he had starting tonight. Appreciate your
Yeah,
time.
we're going on vacation to the beach, man. I'm no pressure. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna chill and enjoy the palm trees.
Yep, that's Homestead, man. Hopefully after party. That's what we're looking forward to.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
See ya.
So there it is. Casey Carrington victorious here tonight. And we touched upon it here a couple of different times, but we have one more race left in the season. Homestead, Miami, the 1.5 miles that, NASCAR used to come to this place for their season finale. Well, it's based off of the old 2007 style schedule. Why not? Challenge Series will be here December 17th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope you can tune in to that next Tuesday night. We'll be live here on V-Speed. Bradley Cooper and Alex Gagnon up in the booth. Hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You'll never miss a single race. We go live on days that end with Y. It's only going to pick up more once the new year starts. And we're almost to Christmas break. We have a few more races and leagues left to wrap up with Saturday Night Racing League, our newly acquired Roughneck. And we'll be picking up some coverage on Sunday for ORRL. Alex Gagnon, appreciate your time up here in the booth. For Adam Baker, Eddie Smith, Morgan Cook, Logan Threlkeld, our other producers, and Christian Hill, this is Bradley Cooper telling you so long. We'll see you next time here on V-Speed. Stay tracking, everybody.